Okay, geh mal hier lang. Warte mal. Wollen wir hier lang? Warte, hier gibt erstmal einen kleinen Weg. Da ist aber nichts. Wir gehen nochmal zurück. Also wir gehen nochmal hoch. Jetzt weiß ich nicht, welcher Weg der richtige ist. Um ehrlich zu sein. Weil es geht einmal da oben hoch und dann geht's da runter. Aber wir gehen jetzt mal hier lang in die Höhle rein. Moin. Da hätte ich gerne Rinmel bei den ganzen Astralenergien, die gerade hier benutzen. Astralarts, meine ich. Fontäne, was? Ich glaube, ich höre jetzt gleich auf, weil ich müsste, glaube ich, mal gucken, was draußen los ist. Also das hört sich echt nicht gut an. Ja, weg hier. Also man hört es wahrscheinlich nicht durch Mikrofon, aber draußen ist gerade richtig Kacke am Dampfen, also was den Wind angeht.
I can feel my precision improving.
Ah, hier ist was. Die HP gehen uns mal so langsam wieder aus. Und da muss ich wen heilen, ist ja wunderherrlich. Gib mir ein Pfirsichgelee, Orangengelee meine ich. Das wäre schön. Ich kam auf der Suche nach Nahrung und Waffen her, aber hier gibt's nichts als Zeugel. Nicht, dass ich mich in eurem Beisein darum sorgen müsste. Unwetterstein. Kern eines Zeuges enthält Wind, Astralenergie. Wenn er verarbeitet wird, kann er an Waffen befestigt werden, um seine Kräfte zu nutzen. Okay, den brauche ich wahrscheinlich für Waffen. Kernlose Gruppe, was?
I just noticed none of you other Danans have spirit cores. Why is that?
Both of my parents were part of the resistance in Calaglia. In fact, my birth was kept a secret from the Renans.
Mine too. We always lived in hiding, so I never had a spirit core embedded in me like I was supposed to.
What about you, Alphen? You were a slave in Calaglia before all this, weren't you?
To be completely honest, I'm not sure why I don't have one. All the other Danan slaves around me did. I was the only exception. They tended to keep their distance from me to avoid attracting any attention from the soldiers, because of my mask and all. What about you, Kisara? Do you still have your spirit core?
No. I was able to find a good Renan doctor who's sympathetic to our kind, and had them remove it before I left. They did such a great job, the procedure didn't even leave a scar.
One of the benefits of coexistence, huh?
I know that once the spirit vessel was shut down, there wasn't much need for me to hurry. But still, I didn't like having that mark of servitude lingering on me any longer than I had to. It may sound a little strange to hear me say this, but I'm just me now. Not a guardsman or a slave. I'm my own woman. And this is my chance to have a new beginning.
Okay. Wie der man warten ließ.
This sure is one rugged road. You'd think they'd keep this at least a little better maintained, right?
Why spend energy fixing that which is rarely used? Repairs require time and effort, which in our world means slaves, often in great numbers. For you, it may be a simple request, but that can quickly become another's difficult burden. Nobody gains anything without someone expending effort.
And you know, somehow that someone always ends up being a Danan, while the Renans are the ones who gain.
True enough. Ideally, in a perfect world, I think it's only fair that the ones who need it should be the ones to perform the work.
However, when doing so could be dangerous like it is here, there are many who would prefer that it be others who risk their lives in their stead.
So, what you're saying is that people will just put up with the inconvenience until someone else comes along to fix it for them?
Indeed. And it is those who can no longer bear that feeling that inevitably take action. Much like the Danins in our group do so now. As strange as it may be to hear such a thing from the likes of myself.
It's true that most of the Danins in Calaglia have been resigned to just accepting things as they are. Still, we can't just blame them for...
What are you making that face for? You're not worn out already, are you?
Nah, just regretting I ever said anything in the first place.
Okay. Ich guck mal kurz nach, wo es hier lang geht. Weil ich... Okay, hier geht's wahrscheinlich wirklich weiter.
Still thinking about how to act around Dohalim?
That obvious, huh? Except I don't think I'll be changing much after all. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to stay his servant. However, I am going to treat him like a fellow comrade, the same way I would with you or anyone else. For as long as I can remember, I've spent my life protecting others. But isn't that what friends do too? Support and protect one another in times of need?
Which in the end pretty much means doing as you've always done, right? If that's what you're most comfortable with, I'm certainly not going to give you any grief over it.
Actually, I've been thinking about how I ought to act around you all as well.
Oh?
When I set out on this journey, it was to rid Eldaman and Sia of its enemies, and search for wisdom in the outside world. Wisdom that I could potentially put to use on my return. I'm grateful to you all for letting me tag along. But it got me thinking, what am I actually contributing by being here?
What are you talking about? You know how to hold a weapon, don't you? That's help enough.
Is it though? Sometimes I wish there was more I could be doing to pull my...
Oops, sorry about that. Jeez, I'm famished.
Now that you mention it, what do you guys normally do for food and meals when you're out and about on your travels?
What do you mean, what do we do? We find stuff to eat and eat it. So long as it's meat, I'm not fussy.
Eating what you like can be good for morale in the short term, but you need to think about your diet if you want to stay healthy.
Does that mean eating vegetables too?
Isn't that obvious?
It does, which I guess hasn't been happening up till now.
Yeah, to be honest, we could be eating better than we do.
Understood. In that case, I'll just have to make sure you're all staying healthy and eating right myself. Fortunately, I happen to know a thing or two about cooking as well.
You hear that, Law? Sounds like you'll be eating your greens after all.
Ugh.
What is it?
No, sorry, it's just... I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on all this.
It will do her good to have a project.
No, not Kisara. I meant you. Was there anything you wanted to add?
Me? Certainly you're not looking to me for culinary skill, I hope.
Typical Renan, leaving everything to someone else.
Rinwell, I don't think...
That said, should you need my skills on the battlefield, please rest assured I have no intention of shirking my responsibilities, regardless of who we may face.
I'm sure no one doubts that. Listen, guys, if we're traveling together, we should probably at least try to make an effort to get to know one another, don't you think?
I wouldn't get your expectations too high in that regard. Believe it or not, sometimes I'm not sure I even know myself all that well.
Ich dachte, Rinwell wäre irgendwie cool mit den Renäern in unserem Team, wegen Shion. Aber irgendwie mag sie Dohalim so gar nicht. Immer blöde Sprüche und so.
Something wrong? You look like you're deep in thought.
Not exactly. I was merely thinking about you two and your sense of etiquette.
Oh?
Was?
Etiquette?
Indeed. To be quite frank, I find your lack of manners to be nigh intolerable.
Alter.
That's not being frank, that's being and forget it. Do we really need to talk about this now?
Yes, I find such impropriety on your parts to be deeply unsettling. It concerns me greatly.
What do you want us to do? We were slaves. We never got to learn how to be proper like you.
Yeah, what he said. Maybe you missed how we were just focused on surviving.
Perhaps, but Kisara here demonstrates that it's quite possible for a Denon to learn proper manners.
That's because I was given the opportunity to learn. Moreover, my duties as a guardsman required it. Not every realm is like Menancia, as you well know.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to hold us to some other city standards.
Exactly. You've got to remember what it's been like for us living under the Rena elsewhere.
I will concede that you do indeed make a valid point. It would appear, for all my espousing the virtues of equality between our peoples, I was still looking down on the two of you.
You don't need to beat yourself up. I wasn't that offended by what you said, man.
Nevertheless, I shall mind my words from here on out. Having said
Ja, besser
that,
so.
I do believe you two would still benefit from learning the basics of proper society. I would be more than happy to teach you both when we camp out, if you like.
Yeah, no, I'll pass. Acting all prim and proper isn't really my style.
If you say so. How about you, Law? Would you like to learn? Although I suppose my first task is to reform your attitude toward the idea of good etiquette.
You're not gonna let this go, are you?
Dualim ist doch noch ein bisschen ein eingebildetes Arschloch. Aber, naja. Er ist halt ein Redenherr. Was willst du machen? Sind wir hier auf dem richtigen Weg? Weil unten gab es eine Cutscene. Da bin ich mir nicht sicher, wo wir jetzt gerade lang gehen. Deswegen dachte ich mir, ich gehe einfach mal den Weg hier. Und wenn der richtig ist, gehe ich einfach zurück. Berg Diara. Das ist wahrscheinlich der richtige Weg, so wie es aussieht. Ich nehme das mal mit, aber dann gehe ich nochmal zurück. Dafür, dass alles vorher so grün war, ist hier aber alles ganz schön kahl. Ja, jetzt das Doofe ist, die ganzen Zeuge sind wieder da. Und meine HP sind gerade nicht so geil. Ja, deswegen würde ich sagen, benutzen wir mal kurz ein Orangengelee, damit die HP wieder da sind. Ich muss sowieso nur die hier wegmachen, damit ich da runter kann. Um den anderen Weg mal zu untersuchen. Weg hier.
Flying freaks! Why can't they just sit still?
Shia, can you take care of them?
No sooner said than done.
You're mine!
Healing circle.
It's too much!
Dragon Force! All finish you right now!
I'm only getting started.
The enemy
Thank
wills
you.
are too.
We'll soon see about that.
Mal gucken, wo wir gleich hinkommen, wenn wir da runter jetzt gehen.
What about me? Do it!
Okay, Kisara! Commander of Heavens!
Phoenix Cyclone! Dragon Kill!
You're finished!
Far enough!
Can't get out of this!
Now!
This one's all mine!
Frozen.
Hammer!
I
So.
can feel my power growing!
Wir sind aber ganz schön viele Level gestiegen. So über
Is
die
it just
Zeit.
me, or is anyone else peckish?
Oh, ich wollte das eigentlich hören, was sie da sagt. Okay, das hier ist der richtige Weg. Was zur Hölle? Was ist mit dir los?
Hey, let's stop for a minute.
What's up? You already tired?
My armor's pretty heavy. I think I need a little rest.
I second that. All of this walking is starting to take its toll on me as well.
What? You don't look it.
We can't spare the time. There's places we need to be. Mahag Sar's capital, Niez, is our destination right now.
But if one of us collapses, it will only serve to slow us down. And in your case, Alphen is the only one who could carry you. Best to rest while you have the opportunity.
Enough already. I need a break, so we're taking one.
I don't need you fretting over me.
Fretting? Hey, it's not like I'm...
Die sind ja alle bescheuert. Was? Wer ist das? Ich muss mal... Entschuldigung, dass ich das jetzt hier pausieren musste, aber unser Pavillon auf dem Hof ist gerade weggeflogen. Also nicht weggeflogen, sondern durch die Gegend geflogen. Und den habe ich jetzt ein bisschen festgemacht. Dass das mitten in der Cutscene passiert, ist ein bisschen doof, aber ist halt so. Machen wir weiter.
Been looking for you. For me? Why?
He's tough.
6 gegen 1.
You said you were looking for me. Why? Beautiful, precious life. What the... That is all I desire.
Mysteriöser
Then why are we
Schwertkämpfer.
fighting?
Warte.
Who even are you?
Habe ich eigentlich die richtige Waffe an? Ausrüstung. Ja, ich dachte, das wäre eins der Anfangsschwerter.
You picked the wrong fight.
Don't mind if I do. Raging Cascade!
Here I come. You're finished.
Ah, zum Glück war ich geheilt vorher. Ich wollte gerade sagen, mit dem bisschen, was ich hatte an HP, das wäre nicht geil.
Speed is unbelievable.
You mean he even surpasses a lord?
Be still. Rising.
Here's a healing arm for the others.
Okay, ich bin down. Das liegt ja
So
gut.
much for sitting this fight out.
That wouldn't be a complaint, I hear.
Nope, that is...
Heilen. Shion. Scheiße, die Mama.
Again here.
Nein, tust du nicht.
Not done yet. Stay away from my friend.
Take it.
Dragon Swarm.
Noch ein Trank des Lebens auf Lore, damit wir einfach keine HP benutzen müssen.
Harder.
In here.
I'm sorry to be a bother. Take
We've
it.
all got enough of it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Far enough. In a bind.
Dragon
Eat that. Too much.
Oh Mann, weg hier.
Healing Swarm.
Okay, wir mussten nur überleben. Was nicht gerade einfach war. Zum Glück kam mir die Rüstung. Danke, Dualim. Nein, lass Law bloß in Ruhe. Oh Mann. Lass Rinwell in Ruhe. Oh Mann. Penner! Ja, Hudel. Schnapp ihn dir. Ich dachte gerade. Ich dachte, die töten echt Hudel.
Is that all that you've got? Very well. Then die.
Ha. Ich glaube nicht, dass er tut. Ach du Scheiße. Ich glaube, sie hat ihnen das Auge abgeschossen. Nee, das Auge ist noch da. Was passiert denn da?
A wretch like you?
Nee, ne? Alter, was passiert hier? Er hat nur den Kern getroffen, ne? Der Spirit Vessel. Nee,
Till next time.
der Spirit Core. Sie lebt.
Wake up,
Sie
please.
lebt doch bitte. Das Schwert ist noch da, sie müsste leben.
Alphen?
Shion.
Thanks, but you're kinda crushing me.
Sorry.
It's okay. And so am I.
Was? Wieso? Wieso hat sie's überlebt?
It's not as bad as it looks.
Not bad. That's... Shion, we thought
I'm
you were...
fine. Really.
What the hell were you thinking?
Well, you were trying to protect me too, you know.
Yeah, but I have the sword. It's different.
It's not different. Besides,
Hmm?
Never mind. It's nothing. Anyway, thank you.
But I didn't... Look, I'm just glad that you're...
Was passiert da? Erinnert er sich etwa an alles?
Alphen?
Sorry.
That guy said he'd be back. I think maybe we should get moving before he returns, right?
Ja, besser wäre das.
Rinwell has a good point. We need to go. Shion, are you sure you're okay?
Shion, are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I already applied some healing arts to it. It didn't even leave a scar.
But his sword went nearly straight through you.
I'm all right. Unless I've turned into some kind of ghost and I'm haunting you all right now.
Wieso lebt sie
No,
noch?
I know you're not. It's just...
Look, I appreciate you looking out for me, but I'm fine. Really.
There was also that strange light that appeared when Shion was stabbed. It seemed to make the enemy retreat when he saw it. Alphen, do you have any idea what it might have been?
A light? I don't know. I was kind of preoccupied with other things at the time.
Now that I think of it, between that light and the blazing sword, just what sort of person are you, Alphen? Can you use Danon astral arts like Rinwell, perhaps?
He wouldn't know, Dohalim. He doesn't have any memories from his past, remember? Besides, we should really be getting out of here.
I suppose you're right. Forgive me. We've almost reached Nias, the capital of Mahag Sar. With any luck, we'll find a place there for Shion to rest.
Also sind wir doch auf dem richtigen Weg.
Hey,
Okay, da müssen wir hin, deswegen würde ich erstmal den anderen Weg gehen wollen. Und wir gehen zurück. Aber damit habe ich jetzt nicht gerechnet, dass sowas passiert. Und dass Shion fast stirbt. Und dann überlebt aus irgendwelchen Gründen. Also richtig erklärt wurde das jetzt auch nicht. Ich dachte vielleicht wegen dem Geisterkern, aber war ja nicht so. Ich nehme mal hier das Zeug mit und versuche mal nicht in den Kampf zu laufen, weil ich will einfach nur hier hoch und gucken, wo es hier lang geht. Ob das hier, also ob das so richtig ist, dass wir hier lang gehen, schon. Vielleicht führt das einfach in ein anderes Gebiet. Oder vielleicht zu irgendwie was Coolem. Was weiß ich. Wir werden auf jeden Fall gucken, wie stark die Zeugel hier sind. Wenn die zu stark sind, dann gehe ich wieder zurück. Was ist das denn hier bitte? Ein Hemmkristall. Und was bist du? Gelee? Aber nur Pfirsich-Gelee und kein Orangen-Gelee. Ja, das wäre cool, wenn das einer beantworten könnte.
We should be able to cook here.
Ich gucke jetzt mal, was die hier alles zu sagen haben.
You're not too hurt, are you?
I'm fine, really. See for yourself.
If things get too tough out there, go ahead and fall back. I can take a beating if I need to.
I'm not here just to stand around and have everyone protect me.
I get that, but there's nothing wrong with admitting you have weaknesses too.
Do I look like I'm just trying to put on a brave face to you?
I can't feel pain. But you still can, can't you?
Look, I appreciate you're trying to look out for me, but even you go down in fights from time to time. Please, stop trying to babysit me. It's getting old.
It's not that. I just...
Mann. Ich will sie doch nur beschützen. Der alte Turm und der Bergkamm sind von Zeugen überrannt worden. Geht nur hinein, wenn ihr wisst, was ihr tut. Was verkaufen kann ich nicht. Also ich habe nichts, was ich verkaufen könnte. Okay, ich habe was für ihn hier, den Piltrampfahl. Ein Steinstab mit eingraviertem Muster enthält große Mengen an Erdastralenergie. Jeder Hieb damit erzeugt eine enorme Einschlagskraft. Was funkelt denn so? Ach, seine Kleidung ist das. Fertigen und ausrüsten. Das ist ganz schön teuer für ihn, aber für sie auch. Blendgranatenschild, was? Ein Schild mit einzigartigem Muster und Lichterstrahlenergie. Die Lichtblitze sind hübsch anzusehen, aber gefährlich erblindend. Okay. Okay.
I'm impressed how well balanced this.
Da fällt mir gerade ein, hast du... Du hast nichts. Dann gebe ich hier... Dann gebe ich dir das Giftamulett.
Thing is.
Dann flitzen wir uns erstmal hin.
There are still so many creatures we don't know about.
Have you been writing stuff down about what we fight?
Yep. It's actually pretty fun to observe them from afar.
Dohalim, your spare bracers were getting dirty, so I polished them up along with the rest of your equipment.
Why, thank you, Kisara. I greatly appreciate that.
Maybe it's just my imagination, but you sure seem to fuss over Dohalim a whole lot, Kisara.
It is a little strange. Almost like you're still in his service.
Really? That's certainly not my intention. Besides, he's not the only one I'm like that with. Hey, Law, I saw your clothes were starting to get holes in them, so I stitched them back up for you.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Kisara.
Point taken. Do you just like looking after people?
I wouldn't go so far as to say I like it, but I get anxious if I don't. I'd always like to help if I can. It comes naturally to me. Back in the day, Miguel and I used to look after the younger kids a lot, so that's probably where it comes from. He taught me everything I know, and I mean everything. How to cook with wild plants, how to sew clothes so they'll last. Without him, we never would have been able to survive.
However, you're not a lord anymore, Dohalim. You need to get used to the idea that people aren't just going to wait on you hand and foot.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm ashamed to admit that I felt no qualms about her doing all that for me. As both a Renan and especially as a lord, one becomes too accustomed to those beneath you tending to your every need, both Renans and Danans alike.
Sure, that's how all you Renans are probably raised. But just to be clear, we're not your servants, Dohalim. Got that?
Absolutely. Moments such as this provide me with ample opportunity to confront my unease. It is difficult to tend with my own motivations.
What do you mean?
The truth of the matter is that my espousal of coexistence in Menancia hardly came from an idealistic place. That instinctive unease I feel deep within serves as a reminder for what it is that all of us here fight for.
Don't be so hard on yourself. No one's going to abandon you if you aren't always perfect.
Looking at her now, I think she's more like his mom than his servant.
Das habe ich nämlich auch gedacht. Mama Kisara. Nochmal Haferbrei. Shion.
All done. Come and eat.
Ich würde gerne mit Shion reden. Wir haben noch nicht mit Dohalim geredet, deswegen machen wir das mal schnell.
Hang out for a while? You worried about what's going on with Menancia?
What makes you think that?
Well, you were speaking to Kisara earlier, weren't you?
It's rude to listen in on others, you know.
Sorry. I didn't hear what you two were actually talking about, though. I just figured it was Menancia since it was the two of you.
I am but a former lord who has abandoned his post. I'm no longer in a position to lead the realm in any capacity whatsoever. Yet Kisara still seeks out my opinions, knowing full well that is the case. This despite the fact I am no longer her master either.
Couldn't it be precisely because you're not her master anymore? It's natural for friends to want to hear each other's opinions.
I hadn't considered that possibility.
It's funny what you miss sometimes.
Hardly uncommon among artistic types such as myself. When lordships are decided based solely on one's astral energy, it can lead to funny results.
But even so, you still took your job as lord seriously, didn't you?
Certainly. I learned to perform my functions. However, I was less interested in ruling, so much as avoiding life and death decisions. Of course, such a mentality in the end led only to sickening pain and death taking place elsewhere out of sight. I pretended not to see or hear any of it, content to let our supposed peace and equality keep me blind and deaf to reality. I was a fool.
But you're making amends.
I would like to think so. The path ahead is dark, yet I still walk on. I merely pray that I shan't fall down any holes along the way. Do you mind watching our camp tonight?
Ja, es war ganz schön dark, was er da erzählt hat. Okay. Entwicklung Law, heranwachsender junger Mann. Was? Genesung. Ein junger Mann kann nicht mit leerem Magen kämpfen und Law ist da keine Ausnahme. Je mehr er isst, desto mehr Muskel bekommt er. Okay. Ich mach das anders mal, die Fähigkeiten bekommen. Ich gucke erstmal in den Turm rein. Wie stark das hier mit Zeugeln infestiert ist. Also wie es aussieht, komme ich ja gar nicht rein. Oder?
Not this way, I guess. Not this way, I guess.
Na shit, Sherlock. Aber so wie es aussieht, gibt es gar keinen anderen Weg. Also auf der Map sieht es auch nur so aus, als könnte ich da lang. Okay, dann bin ich für Nappes hier hingelaufen. Außer mal kurz zum Ausruhen. Und den S-Buff zu erneuern. Und vielleicht hier und das eine andere zu looten. Und dann eine Waffe zu craften hier unter eine. Ich glaube, sonst haben wir hier nicht wirklich viel gemacht, ne? Ist aber auch nicht schlimm. Ich gehe dahin, wo wir gerade eben waren. Und dann mache ich für heute Schluss. Der Wind hat zwar aufgehört, so glaube ich, der Sturm. Trotzdem gehe ich nochmal gucken, ob der Pavillon noch steht. Außerdem will ich schneiden und rendern, damit das noch die Tage rauskommt. Außerdem muss ich sowieso eigentlich schlafen gehen, weil ich gleich einen Arzttermin habe. In 6 Stunden, nicht mal. 6 Stunden habe ich einen Arzttermin. Und da will ich eigentlich ausgeschlafen sein, weil ich habe nur 2 Stunden bis jetzt geschlafen. Und ich dachte, ja... Also ich habe 2 Stunden geschlafen, dann bin ich aufgewacht und dachte, hey, nimmst du doch noch was auf. Und das ist, glaube ich, nicht die beste Idee, mitten in der Nacht irgendwie Scheiße aufzunehmen, wenn du morgen früh einen Arzttermin hast. Also es ist um 10 Uhr der Arzttermin, aber trotzdem. Ich habe ja bis jetzt noch nicht wirklich geschlafen, außer 2 Stunden. Aber dann wiederum, es gibt Leute, die... Okay, mehr als 2 Stunden schlafen schon die meisten, ne? 2 ist, glaube ich, ein Extremfall, wenn... Also andauernd nur 2 Stunden schlafen ist, glaube ich, extrem. Ja. Ja, ich wollte hier dann Schluss machen. Weil wenn wir weitergehen, passiert wahrscheinlich wieder was. Deswegen machen wir hier erstmal Pause. Okay, dann einmal hier auf der 1 und dann auf der 2. Und dann bedanke ich mich vielmals fürs Zuschauen und sage Tschüss, bis demnächst.